Welcome. In this session, we're going to go through your activity plan. We're going to talk about exactly what an activity plan is. When we say activity planning, what we're talking about is putting together a plan that keeps you busy and in front of qualified prospects all week long. We're going to talk about the number of appointments you need to have and how to build an income model so that you can build that six-figure income and that seven-figure business. So activity plan means what is it that you have to do each day, each week in order to accomplish your goal for the year. An activity plan is talking about planning your day, achieving your plan, having everything organized, and dealing with the challenges that are going to come up. There's no question that you're going to have challenges throughout your day and throughout your week. So what is prospecting, first of all? We have to have a good understanding of what prospecting is. We have to have a good frame of mind about prospecting, and we have to have a strategy about prospecting. And truthfully, prospecting is selling. It's selling yourself, selling the interview, selling your professionalism, and lastly, it's selling your company. So many times salespeople think that prospecting is about selling your company, or they think that the prospect is interested in your company. And what they're really interested in is who you are, why they should meet with you, how that's a benefit to them, that's your professionalism, and only then, once they agree to meet with you, or do they have an interest in who your company is. So when you think about who you are and what you bring to the table for the prospect, this is a great ad here. This is an ad for you to learn how to be an H&R Block tax agent. You pay a $249 fee, and then you pack up all your personal financial information and you track it over to an H&R Block office, and some man or woman who used to be a plant manager 5 years ago but paid the $249 to go through H&R Block's course is now going through all your personal financial information. And the reason I have that in there is to point out to you that you are a professional. You already have value, and your prospects will only see the value that you bring yourself. In this case, someone paid $249 and went through a training to say that they can do your taxes. And people only know what you tell them they know. So they pack up all the personal financial information, they take it to someone's office who used to be a plant manager 5 years ago, and they let them do their taxes. They take financial risk with somebody they don't know because this person is represented by a brand called H&R Block that they have value in. You have to see yourself as having that same value. And then you have to know who you're going to talk to. Who are you going to spend your time with? I would tell you that you have to have a good definition of who a qualified prospect is. And here's how I would tell you to define a prospect. First of all, they have to recognize that a problem exists. Is there any point in taking your valuable time, resource, and energy sitting down with someone who doesn't believe they have a problem? I don't think there is. And when you find somebody that recognizes they have a problem, are they motivated to solve that problem? Just because they know they have a problem doesn't necessarily mean they're motivated to solve the problem. So your challenge in getting qualified prospects to build your six-figure income and your seven-figure business is to find someone who recognizes they have a problem, they're motivated to solve the problem, and then the next criteria is that they feel like your product or service will solve their problem. Listen, if you get someone who knows that they have a problem, they're motivated to solve the problem, but they don't think your product or service is going to solve their problem, there's a good chance that you're not going to have a good use of your time by sitting down meeting with them. The next one is they have to qualify for your product or service. If you spend your time, energy, and resources getting someone who recognizes they have a problem, they're motivated to solve the problem, they see your product or service as a solution, but they can't qualify for your product or service, then you probably shouldn't do a complete presentation. I'm not saying you don't have an appointment with them or a meeting with them, but I might not do a full presentation with them because I'm not going to get the business. And the next one is that they have to have the money to purchase your product or service. You've been through this a million times. You get a prospect that recognizes they have a problem, they're motivated to solve the problem, they feel like your product or service will solve the problem, they can qualify for the product or service, but they don't have the money to buy it. They either don't have the money to buy it or don't have the authority to make the purchase. Why would you make a full presentation with someone who doesn't have the money or authority to make a purchase from you? It doesn't make sense. But salespeople do it every day. They do it because they want to have this false sense of security that they've actually got something going on. And the truth is, they're just wasting their time. So you have to realize the value of time, yours and the prospects. And the next criteria is that they have to be willing to spend the money to purchase your product or service to solve their problem. So just because you have a prospect that recognizes they have a problem, they're motivated to solve the problem, they feel like your product or service will solve their problem, they can even qualify for your product or service. They even have the money or the authority to make the purchase, but they're not willing to spend that money to make that purchase. Why would you take your time to do a complete presentation without knowing this in advance? It doesn't make any sense. Even when you go to the doctor or dentist, they have a sign at the window. It says payment is expected for professional service at the time the service is rendered. And you should have the same attitude. Now, last criteria is they have to be willing to purchase your product or service today. You make money today. They need to know you're there to do business today. So here's the criteria to determine whether a person is a qualified prospect. They recognize a problem exists. They're motivated to solve the problem. They feel like your product or service will solve their problem. They can qualify for your product or service. They have the money to purchase your product or service. They're willing to spend money to purchase your product or service to solve their problem. And they're willing to purchase your product or service today. That's a person that I'm willing to invest my time, resources, and energy in making a full sales presentation. And that's how you build value in what you do. So let's talk about some planning. When you work a prospect and invest your time and energy to get in front of them, only three things can happen. And it doesn't matter how much you delude yourself into thinking anything else, only three things happen. You either show an immediate profit, in other words, they purchase from you. You show a loss, they didn't make a purchase from you, and they didn't give a referral, or you created a deferred return. In other words, they give you a referral, schedule a callback, or you get a second appointment. Those are the only three things that can happen when you meet with somebody. And since we already know the three things that can happen, just like the 4 basic objections, we'll go through the 4 basic objection training to get this philosophy down. Once we know what the 4 basic objections are, we can start including those objections in every sales presentation to reduce the possibility of those objections coming up. We can also do the same thing in our prospecting and our planning. We know that we need a sale for an immediate profit. We know that we need a referral or a second callback in order to make money on that appointment. And we know that if we don't get one of those two things, that we're going to show a loss. And losing money doesn't build a 6-figure income or a 7-figure business. So let's look at the value of prospecting. There's my numbers. You have to know what your metrics are. I know what my numbers are for years. If I have 50 names, I don't care where I get them from, profile list, telemarket list, internet leads, wherever I get the names from. If I get 50 names on average, whether I call them or just walk in the business, I'm going to get 24 contacts. In other words, if I call 50 numbers, 24 people are going to answer. If I walk in 50 businesses, 24 people are going to talk to me. And out of those 24, I'm going to get, more likely than not, and on average, over a 13-week period of time, I'm going to get 10 sales interviews. Now, the truth is, I'm only actually going to have 8 full sales presentations. And that's because prospects only lie when you move your lips. So there's going to be one-leggers, there are going to be me shows. I've never had a no-show because I show up every time. But I'm going to have times where the people aren't there. So that's why I say I get 8 full presentations out of 10 set appointments. And on average, I'm going to get 2 sales. Sometimes I'll get more, sometimes I'll get less. But on average, over a 13-week period of time, I know I'm going to get 2 sales. And the average price for my services is $28.85. The first-year commission is $577. So now I already have a value on my prospecting. But here's the thing. Every contact I made, remember I have 50 contacts? 24 people actually agree to talk to me. Every contact I make is worth money to me. So let's look at the numbers. If my average commission is $577 and I have 2 sales, I'm making $1,154. I got 24 contacts, right? 50 names, 24 contacts. I call 50 numbers, 24 people answered. I walk in 50 businesses, 24 people talk to me. each person, each contact is worth $48. So I can have a good attitude. I can be enthusiastic about every call I make because I know every call is worth $48. And if it only takes me 5 minutes to make the call, I'm making $48 for 5 minutes work. So when I'm making these contacts, I want a yes or no as fast as I can get them so I can go to the next contact because every contact's worth $48. That's the attitude you have to have in building a six-figure income and a seven-figure business. This is what you learn when you go through the business planning part of our training. So if you haven't gone through that, go back to it. You can click here for more trainings. You can click here to book a speaking engagement with me. You can click here for more articles or to see more videos.